After 5 long years of silence, my son finally invited me over for Christmas. I was nervous but excited. I wanted to believe maybe things had changed. I baked a pie the way David always liked it, with extra cinnamon, and wrapped it carefully in foil. I even wore my red sweater with pearl buttons, the one I'd been saving for a special day. As I drove up, I saw the house glowing with lights, cars lined up everywhere, and a big snowman swaying in the cold wind. My heart beat faster. This was my chance to be part of the family again. I carried the pie in one hand and a bag of gifts in the other, walking slowly up the steps. My knees ached, but I didn't care. Today mattered. When the door opened, it was Karen, my son's wife. I smiled and said, "Merry Christmas, sweetie." She looked at the pie, then at me, and without even smiling said, "Well, look who finally showed up. She's just here to eat like always." The whole room went quiet. 50 people stared. Some tried to hide it. Others didn't bother. My cheeks burned as Karen laughed and said, loud enough for everyone to hear, "Guess we've got an extra mouth at the table tonight." I froze, gripping the pie tighter. I searched for David. He was standing near the tree, holding a drink. Our eyes met for a second, but then he looked away. I whispered to him, "David, did you not tell her I was coming? You invited me." He didn't answer. He just sipped his drink like I wasn't even there. Karen stepped closer, flashing a fake smile for the crowd. "Honestly, I don't know why you even brought food. We had it catered this year." Then she rolled her eyes and added, "Don't expect anyone to eat it. We've got real food." A few people chuckled under their breath, and the sound cut through me like a knife. I asked David again, softly, "Can we talk, please?" He shrugged. "It's busy right now, Mom. Maybe later." The way he said it like I was a burden broke something inside me. I stood near the coat rack, still holding the pie, still wearing my coat, invisible in a room full of people who pretended I didn't exist. The kids were playing with toys in the corner, and I almost went over, but what would I even say? The party went on as if I wasn't there. Finally, I slipped into the hallway, found the guest bathroom, and locked the door. My knees gave out, so I sat on the toilet lid, holding the pie. I couldn't even cry. I texted David, "Should I leave?" His reply came 5 minutes later, "Do what you want." That was it. That was all I meant to him. I set the pie on the counter, ready to walk out quietly. But when I opened the door, it was gone. My heart sank. I spotted it in the trash can. Still warm, foil untouched. Karen had thrown it away, just like she'd thrown me away. I didn't need anyone to say a word. The message was clear. I wasn't welcome. Not here. Not ever. I locked the bathroom door. I didn't want anyone to see me like this, broken, shaking, holding my purse like it was the only thing keeping me together. The party outside was loud, but in here, the silence pressed down even harder. I tried to breathe slowly, but my chest felt tight, like it wouldn't let me. Then I heard it. Not a knock. Voices. 2 women talking right outside the door. She seriously just walked in like it was her house. One of them whispered. I recognized her voice. It was the woman in the leopard scarf from the kitchen. Karen warned us. She always brings some store-bought dish and acts like she's the queen of the place. They both laughed. She cried at Easter too, remember? Because nobody touched her green beans. Ooh, I wouldn't have eaten them either. I closed my eyes. Every word cut straight through me. The walls might as well have been glass. "She just can't accept that David has his own family now," the woman went on. Then a pause. "Karen told me she's been trying to get him to cut her off for years." My hands had grabbed a paper towel without me realizing. I crumpled it in my fist, too frozen to move, too hollow to even cry. Their voices drifted on about someone's cheating husband, then circled back to me. She used to call every Sunday. David finally told her to stop. Said it was making Karen anxious. Boundaries, you know, good boundaries. That word boundaries stuck like a thorn. Finally, their heels clicked away down the hall. My phone buzzed. I pulled it out with shaking hands. A message from David. Just 3 words. "Do what you want. No apology, no comfort." He knew exactly where I was and what Karen had done. He knew I had nowhere to go. Still do what you want. I looked in the mirror. My mascara was smudged. My face tired, older somehow. I wiped my eyes, fixed my makeup as best I could, then picked up my purse. 1 breath. 2. I unlocked the door. The hallway was quiet. My pie was still sitting in the trash. I kept my eyes down and walked toward the front door. No one stopped me. No one cared. But then I heard Karen's voice from the kitchen. If she's not going to be grateful, why should we pretend? She's never respected boundaries. She guilt-tripped David into inviting her. Someone chuckled in agreement. I stopped in my tracks. That was it. Proof. This wasn't some awkward misunderstanding, had been planned. The humiliation, the silence, the whispers, all of it. I walked straight to the door. Cold air hit my face as I stepped outside. Still, no one looked up. Not even David. I closed the door behind me and stood on the porch, hugging my coat tighter, hands shaking. I should have left then, walked down the steps, gone home, but instead, I pulled out my phone. Not to call a cab, not to call a friend. I opened Facebook. Right at the top was a brand new post, a picture of Karen with her arm around David, wine glass raised. The caption, "Perfect family Christmas. No drama this year." That smile on her face, it wasn't joy, it was victory. I scrolled through the comments. You two are ghouls. So glad your holiday was peaceful. Beautiful home. Love this. My grip tightened on the phone. No drama. No drama because I had stayed silent. Because I had left. That was their goal all along. And that's when I realized the worst part wasn't the insults. It wasn't even the pie in the trash. The worst part was how easy it was for them to erase me. Like I had never been invited. Like I was never wanted. Like I wasn't family at all. I stepped off the porch, each step heavier than the last. The door shut behind me, and for the first time all night, I could breathe. Not fully, not freely, but just enough to hold myself together until I got to the car. I sat behind the wheel, hands still, jaw tight, staring at the steering wheel like it owed me answers. There was nothing left to say. Not to David, not to Karen, not to anyone in that house who had looked right through me. I didn't cry on the drive home. Not when I passed the street where David first rode his bike. Not at the gas station where we used to stop for slushies. Not even when the radio played a Christmas song I used to sing to him when he was little. The tears didn't come until I got home. I pushed the door open, dropped my purse by the wall, and left my coat on. I hadn't planned on being back this early. The apartment felt too quiet, almost hollow. The little ceramic nativity on the mantel stared back at me, waiting for a Christmas that had already passed me by. In the corner, my crooked fake tree blinked weakly. I'd decorated it alone. The kitchen still smelled like the chicken soup I'd made the night before. Something simple I thought I'd reheat after the party. Now, it would be my Christmas dinner. I ladled some into a bowl and sat at the table. But I didn't bother with crackers or candles. I just stared at the empty chair across from me, the one where David used to sit when he visited. I remembered one Christmas when he was 10. He had begged to set the table himself, scribbling little green trees on napkins with a crayon. Margaret kissed him on the forehead, told him it was the most beautiful table she'd ever seen. The sound of my spoon clinking against the bowl yanked me back. I had raised him, fed him, sacrificed for him, and somehow I was the outsider. I left the soup half full and sank onto the couch, pulling the blanket across my lap. The TV remote sat on the coffee table, but I didn't turn it on. Instead, my eyes landed on the photo on the shelf. Me, David, and Margaret, taken before the wedding, before Karen, back when I had a place in his world. At that party, I heard David laugh harder than I had in years, but not with me, at me, or worse, without me entirely. I tried closing my eyes, tried resting, but all I could see was Karen's smirk, David's silence, and my pie sitting in the trash. I wanted to believe David hadn't known, that he'd been caught off guard. But no, his eyes had told me otherwise. That wasn't surprise, it was acceptance. He'd already decided I didn't belong. The clock ticked loud in the silence. 10:30, 11. I still hadn't opened the gifts I'd brought. They were sitting in the car. I'd wrapped them carefully, each tag written by hand on a scarf. Daniel's puzzle, David's book, a rare first edition, the one he'd mentioned months ago. I thought he'd be touched. I imagined him saying, "You remembered," but that moment never came. I checked my phone, no calls, no texts, no apology, nothing, not even a simple, "Are you okay, Mom?" I sat there wondering when I'd gone from being his mother to being a problem. Maybe it was easier to blame Karen, but the truth was harder. David let it happen. He watched me get humiliated, saw the look on my face, and still turned away. That truth hurt more than anything Karen ever said. I went back to the kitchen, rinsed out the untouched bowl, washed the spoon, scrubbed the pot. The same routine I'd done for years. The fridge hummed quietly. I placed the box of cookies for the kids on the top shelf, still sealed, still waiting. Then I turned off the tree lights and sat back on the couch, arms folded, heart heavy, the darkness pressed in. I didn't sleep that night, not really. I'd closed my eyes, but the memories came back in sharp pieces. Curran's voice, the pie in the trash, David looking away. The next morning, I stayed in bed longer than usual, not because I was tired, but because I didn't want to face another day of silence. What was I supposed to do? Pretend nothing happened? Smile like it was all fine? Around 10, I finally sat up and reached for my phone. No missed calls, no texts, no apology. Out of habit, I scrolled through Facebook, not expecting anything. That's when I saw a red notification in my inbox. A new message from someone named Maria Jacobs. Her face looked familiar: blonde hair, big earrings, always laughing too loud at David's parties. I braced myself for another jab, but when I opened it, the words stopped me cold. I'm really sorry about what happened. You didn't deserve that. I thought you should see this. The message had a video attached. My thumb hovered over the play button. Part of me didn't want to know, but I pressed it anyway. The screen lit up. Karen stood in the kitchen, wine glass in hand, talking to two women. Her voice was sharp, clear. Oh, don't worry. I told David not to actually invite her. He just mumbled something about guilt and the kids. One woman asked, "What if she shows up anyway?" Karen smirked and shrugged. "Let her. I'll embarrass her enough that she won't dare do it again. Watch." The laughter stung. Then Karen added, "David won't stop me. He never does. He owes me for putting up with her this long." The video ended. My stomach dropped. I sat frozen, phone shaking in my hand. Another message came through. "There's more. Just audio this time." I pressed play. Karen's voice again. She always plays the victim, like we're supposed to be grateful. She raised him alone. That's what moms do. You don't get a medal for it. Then I heard David's voice. "My son, quiet, tired. Just don't make it a scene." Karen laughed. "She makes it a scene just by walking in." I paused the recording. The silence in my apartment was louder than anything. This wasn't just Karen being cruel. It was planned, talked about, agreed upon. David knew, and he let it happen. My reflection stared back at me from the black screen, red eyes, pale face, drained of everything. How many times had I defended him? How many years had I excused his distance? Told myself he was tired, stressed, just trying to keep the peace. No. He made his choice the moment he heard her plan, and stayed silent. I typed back, "Thank you for sending this. I mean it." Maria's reply came fast. "I wasn't going to, but after I saw your face that night, I couldn't pretend anymore." I set the phone down, my heart pounding so hard I thought it might break my ribs. I walked to the window. Snow was falling, light and soft. Outside looked calm, but inside me, something had cracked wide open and something new was forming behind it. This wasn't about revenge, not yet. This was about holding the truth in my own hands, proof, control. They wanted me humiliated and silent, but they forgot it survived worse. Karen might have the house, the parties, the shiny image, but now I had something stronger, evidence. I saved the files to my laptop, made copies, stared at them like they were both dangerous and necessary. I watched the video again after lunch, then again before bed. Each time, new details hit: Karen's smirk, David's silence, the cold laughter. It didn't feel like family. It felt like a setup. The next morning, I opened my closet and dragged out the little fireproof box I kept buried under blankets. Inside were papers I hadn't touched in years: Margaret's will, David's birth certificate, receipts, house documents. My fingers landed on a yellow envelope marked house transfer. I remembered the day we signed it, after Margaret passed. The house was paid off, mine and Margaret's. But David had been struggling, and I'd said, "Let's just put it in your name. You'll feel secure." He promised me then, "You'll always have a room here, Mom. It'll always be your home." And yet, 2 years later, I was in a one-bedroom apartment above a laundromat. I picked up my phone and scrolled until I found the number: Helen Evans, my old lawyer. She was retired now, but I trusted her. She answered on the second ring. "Hello. Hi, Helen. It's me, Elaine." "Elaine, my goodness, it's been years. I know. I need help." Her voice sharpened. "Are you in trouble?" I took a breath. "No, but I've been treated like garbage. And I think it's time I stop letting them get away with it. Tell me everything, she said, steady as ever. And I did. I told her about the invitation, the humiliation, the pie, the bathroom, the video, the audio, David's silence. She didn't interrupt. When I finished, she said words I hadn't expected. Send me the files. All of them. And the house paperwork, too. I'm not trying to sue them, Helen. I just want them to know I'm not stupid. Sometimes showing them you're not stupid is exactly what they need. I emailed her everything, the video, the audio, the deed. 15 minutes later, she called back. Her voice was sharp. Elaine, do you realize what David did? I clutched the phone tighter. What do you mean? You didn't just put the house in his name. You gave it to him. That's all. No, you didn't. You transferred it. Yes, but you still kept the right to live there. It's right in the clause. Page 3, paragraph 2. I grabbed the envelope with shaky hands, flipped to the section, and there it was. In black and white, transfer of title shall not terminate current resident's right to inhabit the property for the duration of her lifetime, unless voluntarily vacated or legally contested. My throat tightened. I thought that was just legal fluff, I whispered. It's not fluff, Helen said firmly. It's protection, and it means they forced you out illegally. I leaned back, stunned. All this time, I believed I'd given it all up, that I had no voice, no ground to stand on. But I'd been wrong. Elaine, Helen said softly, do you want me to write them a letter? I hesitated, then nodded. Yes, not out of spite, not for revenge. For the first time in years, I just want to be heard. Her voice was steady. I'll draft it tonight. I'll make it sharp, and I'll send it certified. They'll know. You're not bluffing. I thanked her and hung up. The silence that followed wasn't heavy anymore. It wasn't lonely or crushing. It felt steady, focused. I hadn't raised my voice, but now I had something louder than shouting paperwork. Truth, and someone willing to stand beside me. They thought I was weak, just an old woman to push aside. They forgot I was Margaret's wife. I was David's mother. I was the woman who worked 2 jobs while raising him, the one who saved receipts and kept every record. I made myself a cup of tea and stood by the window, watching the snow cover the quiet street. Somewhere out there, Karen was laughing, probably planning another party, posting more family pictures online. But this time, the joke wasn't on me. This time, they'd have to open a letter they never expected and realize they'd never truly left. That week, I checked my mailbox every morning. Not for me, for them. Helen had sent the letter by certified mail, which meant someone in that house had to sign for it. On Thursday morning, there it was, a green slip tucked between a magazine and a flyer, signed by Karen. I folded it neatly and set it on the counter. My hands didn't shake. Not this time. Karen had already opened it. I knew she wouldn't wait. She wasn't the type to ignore a sealed envelope from a lawyer. I turned off the TV and paced once, twice. Then I sat with my tea and waited. At 3:12 p.m., my phone rang. David. I let it ring twice before answering. Hello, what the hell is this? His voice was sharp. No hi, Mom. No, how are you? I stayed calm. I think the letter explained it clearly. You're threatening legal action. I'm enforcing a contract. That's different. You want to move back into the house. Is that what this is about? I want acknowledgement. I want what was promised, what your wife helped steal from me. Silence. Then David said tightly, Karen didn't steal anything. She humiliated me in front of 50 people. She laughed about it afterward. I have the video. So you're spying on us now? No, David. One of your friends still has a conscience, something you seem to have lost. I could hear him breathing hard on the other end. Finally, he muttered, I don't want to fight with you. Then don't, I said simply. I don't understand why you'd go this far. I paused, then told him the truth he didn't want to hear. Because you let her throw away the pie I baked for your kids. Because you stood there while I was called a freeloader. Because you didn't defend me. Because you knew everything and chose silence. That's not fair, he snapped. It's accurate, I said quietly. He sighed, a heavy, angry sound of a man stuck between guilt and pride. What do you want from me? I want a formal apology. In writing, I want Karen to know she crossed the line. And I want my right to the house acknowledged again in paper. If not, Helen will file, and it'll all become very public, very fast. The silence this time stretched long. Finally, David muttered, Fine, you'll get your damn paper. I ended the call without another word and stood by the window again. The bare trees looked sharp against the pale sky. I didn't feel joy or victory, just movement, but that was enough. The next day, Karen sent me a text. You win. You've made your point, but don't think this means you're welcome again. I didn't respond. She wanted the last word, but she wasn't going to get it from me. 2 hours later, David texted, "Letter will be mailed Monday. Please don't escalate this further." This time I replied with 3 simple words. Make sure it's notarized. No smiley face, no warmth, just facts. That night I didn't cry. I didn't even feel proud. I felt steady, grounded. Karen could keep playing her games. David could keep pretending it was all stress. But I knew what had happened. I had proof. And now they knew I wouldn't sit quietly anymore. For the first time in years, I went to bed without replaying every cruel word. I'd said enough. Now it was their turn. I didn't expect a knock on my door that Saturday morning. I was folding laundry on the couch, flipping through channels, when the sound came sharp and fast. My heart jumped. Slowly, I walked to the door and peeked through the peephole. Karen, hair pulled back, big sunglasses, no coat. I froze, but she knocked again. I know you're in there. I cracked the door open just a little. What do you want? She pushed her sunglasses up. This has gone too far. I didn't move. You embarrassed me in front of our entire family, she went on. Now you want to sue us. I sent a letter, I said evenly. That's all. If you were embarrassed, it's because of your own actions, not mine. Her arms crossed tight. We've been more than generous with you. I almost laughed. Generous? You kicked me out, called me a freeloader, threw my food in the trash. Her eyes narrowed. You were never supposed to hear that. That was it. That sentence told me everything I needed to know. Not I'm sorry, not we went too far. Just you weren't supposed to know. You planned it, I said. She didn't deny it. You made David choose, I added. He's my son. I'm his mother. She glanced down the hallway like someone might be watching. You got what you wanted. You made your point. Now drop it. I leaned against the doorframe. I'm not doing this for revenge. I'm doing it because I've stayed quiet too many times. Her lips curled. You think this makes you strong? It makes you pathetic. I shook my head. No. What's pathetic is sitting in a bathroom while my family laughs about me over wine. Her face tightened. I came here to be civil. Then leave while you still can, I said. We stood there, 2 women staring each other down. The balance had shifted, and she felt it. She finally stepped back. You're going to regret this. I didn't blink. No, I already regretted staying silent. She turned and walked down the hall. I closed the door, locked it, sat back on the couch. My hands weren't shaking anymore, but her last words echoed in my head. You're going to regret this. What did she mean? What else could they try? That night, I couldn't sleep. Every creak in the hallway made me sit up. Every shadow outside the window made me check the blinds. Not because I was afraid, because I was ready. And when the next knock finally came, it wasn't Karen. It wasn't David. It was 2 men in uniform. I opened the door. 2 officers stood there, tall and serious. One held a clipboard, the other a folder. Ma'am, are you Elaine Harmon? Yes. We need to speak with you about a complaint that was filed. Their voices weren't hostile, just professional. Careful. I stepped aside and let them in. The younger one opened the folder and placed a paper on my table. A notice. Allegation of harassment, filed by Karen. I stared at it. She filed this. Yes, ma'am. She claims you've been making threats and interfering with their property. That's not true. The officer nodded like he'd heard that before. We're just here to document. No arrests, no charges. But we need your side. I sat down slowly. I sent a legal letter through my attorney. That's not harassment. The older one asked, may we see a copy? I went to the drawer, pulled out the printed letter Helen had written, and handed it over. They read it carefully, front to back. This is formal legal communication, the younger one said at last. She didn't mention that. Of course not, I said. It doesn't fit her story. And she came here herself, banged on my door, told me I'd regret sending that letter. Did you record it? No, but I do have the Christmas video. You do? I pulled out my phone, played the clip. Karen's voice, David's silence, the laughter, the plan. The officers said nothing until it ended. Then the older one looked at me quietly. You've been through a lot. I nodded. We're not here to escalate things, he said, but document everything. Calls, messages, visits. Write it all down. I already do, I told him. He gave a small nod. We'll note your side in the report. Right now, there's no cause for action. Thank you. At the door, the younger officer turned back. Ma'am, do you feel safe? I didn't hesitate. I do now. They left. I stood alone in the quiet apartment, the complaints still lying on the table. Karen had filed against me. She tried to twist the story, make herself the victim. I wasn't surprised. What surprised me was how calm I stayed. I didn't panic. I didn't cry. I didn't crumble. I sat down, pulled out my phone, and texted Helen, sent her photos and copies of everything. 10 minutes later, she replied, "They're rattled." That's a good sign. Helen's words stayed with me. Don't react emotionally. Let the facts speak. I read that message 3 times. She was right. Karen wasn't calling the police because she was scared. She was doing it because she was losing control. And people like her, they don't lose quietly. That night, I changed the lock on my door. Not because I was afraid, but because I was finally clear. I knew they weren't done trying to rattle me, but I wasn't afraid of being rattled anymore. Later, while I was wiping down the kitchen counter, I heard a knock. Not urgent, not hesitant, just expected. I dried my hands and opened the door. David stood there holding a small envelope. He looked worn, out older, tired, hollow eyes. "Can I come in?" he asked. I stepped aside. He walked in slowly, glancing around like he'd never really seen my place before. "I found your letter," he said quietly. "It was in Karen's drawer. She never meant for me to see it." He held up the envelope. "I filed this yesterday. Divorce papers." I looked at them, not shocked, just done. Then he blurted, "She told me you brought a knife, said you threatened her." I froze. "She told the police too," he added, "but they didn't believe her. The neighbor's doorbell camera cleared you." I sat down, the air heavy around us. "She's unraveling," he said. "She's been suspended from work. Her boss got the subpoena. HR is investigating. She tried to claim harassment, but the timestamps proved she lied." Silence stretched between us. "She thought she could spin it," he continued, "turn it all on you. But she pushed too far this time." I murmured something under my breath. He nodded. "I let her twist the truth for years," he admitted. "I let her twist me." Finally, I met his eyes. "What do you want from me, David?" He didn't answer right away. Then he said, "Not forgiveness, just a chance to make things right. Not with her, with you." I leaned back. "Then do one thing. Tell your daughter the truth. Don't let her grow up thinking I was some desperate old woman who showed up uninvited. She deserves to know why I stopped coming around." His face shifted, not shocked, just scared. He nodded. "I will." He stood to leave. At the door he paused. "Karen wanted to talk to you. She asked me to call you." "Why?" I asked, flatly. "She said she wanted to apologize." I shook my head. "She wants damage control, not closure." He didn't argue. "I didn't give her your number." "Good," I said softly. After he left, my phone buzzed. A message from Helen. "Update. Karen's company just sent an internal memo. She's being terminated." I set the phone down and walked to the living room. From a drawer, I pulled out the dusty frame holding our last family photo back when things still looked whole, but already felt cold. I slipped the old picture out and replaced it with a new one, me, Helen, and our neighbors from bingo night, laughing, holding cake. I set it on the shelf, not to erase the past, but to make space for something better. And for the first time, in years, I smiled. Not the polite smile you wear for company. A real one, the kind that sneaks up when the weight finally lifts. Outside, the wind moved gently through the trees, and inside, I felt steady, strong, free. That's today's story. If it touched you, leave a like and subscribe. And don't forget, share your own life lesson in the comments below.